Well, surprise, bitches, but I thought you'd seen the last of me. Hi everybody, welcome back. It sure has been a fucking while. We're not really gonna get into that today. Long story short, had a mental breakdown again, and yeah, that's all we're really gonna say on that matter. Anyway, so just jumping straight back into it. Here's everything I read in January. Started off not strong. Queen of Gods. This was the sequel to Daughter of Darkness. This is by Catherine and Elizabeth Core. Look, pretty covers, Michaela Aquino. I loved the first book when I read it a good couple of years ago. I think I pre-ordered it at Yalk because I got a really cool print, which I have up in my bedroom now. So I pre-ordered it, read it, really fucking loved it. It's based off of the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, but kind of an interesting sort of take on it, where like these sort of like sects of magic users according to each god. So you've got like Hephaestus, who had the Forgers. You've got Hades, who has the Soul Severers, and that's kind of the group that we're following. And they're people who basically get used almost as like executioners, or sometimes as like mercy killings and stuff. Basically, they can like bring someone's soul in halfway into the underworld and then like sever them. And this is often used as like a punishment as well, because you can like leave people stuck in between here and the underworld. This is really not a very good summary of this book. It's been a while since I read the first one, so I am kind of just trying to remember. I spent most of this book trying to remember who the fuck everyone was. Anyway, so long story short, Orpheus is king. The soul servers get sent to the underworld to go and get his wife Eurydice back because she's died, and the story kind of unfolds from there. Now, like I said, I really loved the first one. It was really interesting. There was some interesting romances going on, interesting plot twists. I really liked the cast of characters. I really liked the relationships and stuff. This book could not fucking decide where it wanted to go, and I think that was the problem. Because our main character, Dana, she is really caught in this decision of stuff she's found out from the first book about herself and what path this could lead her down, but also continuing basically on the path that she started in the first one as a soul severer. I'm doing all of this with and for her friends. Yeah, I think I gave this like a 3 stars. So for me, there was as many things I liked about it as I didn't like about it. Yeah, it just really didn't sit well with me. I really didn't like where the characters went. I really didn't care for where the romance went in this one. I feel like there was a much more interesting option that they just kind of toyed with and then didn't do much with. And yeah, a lot of the stuff I think that they set up in the first book just really didn't go anywhere, and it was really, really disappointing. I really liked the first one, but on the whole, not the best sequel to the first one. Slightly better sequel that I read though was Black Tide Sun by H.M. Long. Now I read Daughter of Darkness last year. Daughter of Dark Water, sorry. Daughter of Darkness is the first one. Now I read The Daughter of Dark Water last year. Daughter Dark Water? No, Dark Water Daughter, that's what it's called. Fucking hell. Having 2 books where you've got Daughter Darkness followed immediately by Dark Water Daughter, my brain apparently cannot compute. Yeah, this was brilliant. Dark Water Daughter is fucking fantastic. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. And Black Tide Sun is such a good sequel. It really builds on what we've learned from the first book. I love where these characters went. I think one of my favourite things in this series is the relationship that Benedict and Samuel have with each other. Like, these are 2 twins, total polar opposites and stuff, but like, I don't know, it's just something about the way that the author deals with just that unconditional love you have for your sibling, even if they're a horrible fucking person. And I love how that is just explored in this book, especially since a lot of it is down to Samuel and Mary having to go and help this guy who they both really don't fucking like, but it's Samuel's brother, so they kind of fucking have to. I really love this series. I love magic, I love the characters, I really like where the romance is going and stuff, and the world building's so good, and the politics and stuff have gotten really, really interesting in this book as well, and just so much going on, but it's paced so well as well. And like I said, I just love how it was developed. I think I gave this maybe 4.5 stars, 5 stars or something. It's basically pretty much a perfect read for me. Cannot wait for the last book in this trilogy to come out. I'm not doing these in order, by the way. I can't remember what order I read this shit in. I then read List of Suspicious Things, which was the Waterstones fiction book of the month. I'm back working for Waterstones now permanently, so I am going to be trying to get through at least 2 of their books of the month, just obviously for my fucking job. So it is going to hopefully try and help me diversify my reading a bit. So I read List of Suspicious Things. This is set in Yorkshire in the 1980s. I want to say, and it's taking place around the time of the Yorkshire Ripper. And you're following this young girl, Miv. Her family situation kind of, her mum's not well, and she thinks as a result of it, her father's going to make her move, especially because now it's not really safe for women and young girls to be out because of the Yorkshire Ripper. So she and her best friend decide that they are going to write down a list of all the suspicious things and people that they see in their community to try and work out who the Yorkshire Ripper might be. I absolutely adored this book. This was so good. It's just such an interesting sort of look at how like small communities and stuff and how you think you know everything that's going on with everybody, but actually you don't. Like the things that Miv and her friend find out about what's going on in their community. Pretty fucking dark at times, but like it's just kind of the things like you have no idea what's going on in another person's life, but you also could know what's going on in another person's life if you reach out that olive branch, if you are the one to say, hey, is everything okay? Can I help? It's a beautiful, beautiful book about friendship and, friendship across lots of different people and lots of different age gaps and stuff. They like befriend all these old people, but also these sort of slightly younger people and stuff, even though they themselves are like 13. It's just such a good book. I really, really liked it. I don't really know what else really to say about it apart from just absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend. If you're looking for an interesting non-fantasy read to pick up, I would definitely recommend List of Suspicious Things. Will of the Many by James Islington. This was so good. This is set in a sort of like Roman Empire kind of world, and the kind of like system is almost like pyramid scheme kind of. You've got your people at the top who take their power from the people underneath them, who are taking their power from the people underneath them, and the people beneath them are giving their power to them, like all that kind of thing. And you're following this guy who is what a way to describe the protagonist. But you're following this guy. He is the son of one of the sort of conquered kingdoms and stuff that this sort of hierarchy kingdom has taken over. So everyone believes him to be dead. He's kind of in hiding. He's just pretending to be some nameless orphan. But he kind of gets picked up by this sort of high-ranking official within the hierarchy who wants to use him to infiltrate the kind of elite academy that a lot of the kind of like, leaders of the future come out of and things. They want him to infiltrate that to find out what's happened to this guy, the high-ranking official, to his brother when he was there. And also just trying to manipulate things from in there and stuff. Kind of like the best kind of description I can really give you. It's really, really good though. I mean, the world building's fantastic. Very obvious commentary on capitalism and things like that. But very, very well done, I think. And I think the main character is incredibly easy to like. You can see where perhaps some of his flaws come from, but you also understand his motivations, and how he progresses and changes as a character across this book is really, really good. I love seeing the friendships and stuff that he creates in this book. I think some of the side characters, I thought I was really going to hate some of them, especially like Aqua, for example. But I ended up fucking loving them by the end of the book. I thought the school dynamics were really, really interesting. How even within the school system there's a hierarchy, and how it has to be so strict whilst they're at school as to who they're seen socialising with and who they are allowed to talk to. And watching him make his way up through the grades and stuff is like really, really fun to see as well. As well as sort of like the subplot of like him finding of the labyrinth and stuff that is going on in here. I am being deliberately vague just so that if you haven't read this book, I'm not spoiling it for you, but people who have read this book but don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to randomly bring things up and you're going to be like, Mary, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm going to be like, I'm going to have to read it to find out. But yeah, and then the overarching mystery of what happened to the guy's brother and what's still going on within the school and things is really, really interesting. That fucking ending though, I have so many questions, not nearly enough answers. I need the next book now, but apparently it's still no publication date. Me and my colleague were talking about this. We were like looking it up on our little bookseller stuff. He's writing the third book, but the second one still isn't out yet, and it's like, give it to me, please. And then read Sorcery and Small Magics. This was so good. Oh my god. I had a really good reading month in January. Most of the books I read were pretty fucking amazing. This is almost like sort of D&D meets Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies is perhaps the best way I can explain this book. Basically, these two guys who go to school together and don't fucking like each other, one of them ends up accidentally cursing the other one to basically follow all of his commands and stuff, and they have to go on a little quest to try and unravel this. Yeah, it's really, really good. The magic system was really interesting. It's like you've got casters and you have scribers. So a scribe is someone who writes down the spell, and then the casters are the people who can actually cast the spells. But you can't do both for whatever reason. So that's quite an interesting dynamic, because one of the main characters is a scribe, and the other main character is a caster, and that's kind of why they end up being paired together. There's definitely some really interesting plot points and stuff that they're leaving for later books. I just love the characters in this. It's definitely character driven. Very, very interesting backstories, very, very interesting dynamic that the two of them have. Like, it's a very, very fun enemies to lovers kind of idea. It's so wholesome as well. Like, it's just so sweet seeing their relationship develop into friendship and perhaps something more by the end of the book. I have to say, I think I knocked off like a little bit off of a 5-star read for this because it ends so fucking abruptly, and I thought this was a standalone. No, I think it's a trilogy. So I really was expecting it all to be resolved by the end of the book, and it isn't. But they really have left some interesting things to be developed later on, particularly with the magic and the difference between like the structured kind of magic that you see and also like maybe more wild magic and things like that. Yeah, no, really, really, really good. Highly recommend it if you're looking for just quite a cozy, fun, very easy to get through read. I then read From Dust to Flame. This is a book that I have had on my shelves for fucking years. Finally got around to reading it because I am trying to read all of the books on my shelves before I let myself buy any more. The only books I am reading that are not on my shelves are ones I get from the library or bookseller copies that I then have to return to the staff room anyway. This was really, really good. This is based off of lots of Jewish folklore and mythology and stuff, which is something I have never really come across before. So that was really, really nice to see and very different. You're following this girl, Hannah, who on her 17th birthday wakes up and she's got like weird eyes, or she's got horns, and like, you know, every day she wakes up and something new has happened to her and she's got some monstrous transformation to her body. So her mum seems to know what is going on, won't tell her or her older brother, but promises, I'm going to go and find someone who helped, stay here and I'll be back. Weeks go past and they don't hear from their mum. Weeks go past, they have no idea what's happening, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and then all of a sudden they get a obituary sent to them in the mail about someone who appears to be their grandmother, who their mother has never spoken about, and it turns out they have this massive family in a northern state somewhere, and they decide to cover up Hannah's transformation as much as they can and go and find their family and hope that maybe they know where their mother has disappeared to and can perhaps help with what's going on with Hannah. It was really, really good. Like I said, the Jewish folklore and stuff was just fascinating. It's not something I'm particularly familiar with. It was really, really fresh, I think, for me to see this kind of like mythology and stuff within a modern day setting as well. It was really interesting. I liked the whole idea of just like family and reconnecting with your family as well. That was really, really lovely and well done in this book. And the main characters, because you kind of got Gehenna, who's like the main character, but you are following her brother quite a bit as well and seeing how all of this is affecting him as well. Very interesting sibling dynamic, very interesting family dynamic, and I really like just seeing the development of the characters and the story as it went on. The romance is really, really cute. I really, really liked it, and just yeah, really, really good book. 5 stars. Another one that's been sitting on my shelves for years that I've only just gotten to read is The Lost Storyteller. This is a sort of just a fiction story. It's one of the few non-fantasy ones I have, and you're following this young woman who's kind of just at a bit of a dead end in life, doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life. She's at this kind of job that, you know, she's making good money from, but she's not sure she's really loving it. And then one day this journalist turns up looking for her father. Now, her father was a big TV star in the 90s. He had this really big hit show, and then he just vanished when he walked out on her and her mum, and most people assume he is dead. But this sort of journalist turning up starts her prompting her family for answers about her father, because they've never really told her anything, and she's kind of at the point where she's actually had enough of being kept in the dark. So she kind of then goes on this journey to try and find out what the hell has happened to her father, and obviously the journalist kind of comes along with her because he's kind of wanting to get a story about it, and everything really kind of goes from there. Especially when her grandmother gives her this book of fairy tales that her father left for her, that she realises quite quickly that he actually appears to have written these stories about his own life, put things that happened to him into fairy tale form in an attempt for her to try and understand why he was the way that he was, and perhaps be able to find him later on in her life. This was really lovely. I wasn't sure what to expect from it, but I really, really liked it. again, another really good book about family and the different dynamics that you have with your family, and how one person can perhaps, you know, be so important to everybody but also so destructive to them, and just complicated messiness that I think all families have, that a lot of people are really bad at actually owning up to having happen in their family and stuff like that. As a child of divorced parents, I could really like relate to a lot of what was going on in here, of like, you know, having both parental figures and then both meaning different things to you and stuff, and what you have in your head versus how they are in real life. Yeah, it was really, really brilliant. I really liked the relationship between her and the journalist Ellis. I thought that it was really, really well done. It was really sweet. And any drama and stuff that they did to make it interesting and stuff, it did actually feel kind of real. It didn't feel just sort of like, now we're gonna put some drama in here because, you know, I did really like it. Yeah, it was just really, it was a different read for me as well. Like I said, it wasn't fantasy, but there was like fairy tale-esque parts in it, because you've got these stories that this man has written to try and understand his own life and communicate that to his daughter, who was young at the time that she was given the fairy tale book and things. Yeah, if you're looking for something a bit different, I would really recommend this one. I then read A Natural History of Dragons. This is one I've been meaning to read for years, since I saw lots of my friends on BookTube talking about it. This was so good. Another 5 stars for me. Like I said, January was a really, really good reading month for me. This follows Lady Trent when she's a young woman, and she's writing these, well, as an older woman, she's writing these memoirs as to like her life as a natural scientist and things like that. But this is the first one on her first expedition with her husband, when they go to try and see some dragons up close. It was just a really fun combination of like almost like real life memoir, but it's scientific about dragons. It was just a really, really fun dynamic, and one that I hadn't really come across before, obviously, in a fantasy novel and stuff, like almost like feeling like it's set in the real world. There just happens to be dragons, but of course there'll be natural historians and stuff who want to go and study them and do all their technical drawings and things. The plot was really fantastic as well. I think the mystery of like why the dragons were behaving the way that they were was really well done. And sort of as well, the sort of people coming from the outside into this small community and really not knowing how to fit in and things like that. That was quite interesting to see. And I like as well that you're getting the commentary of this character when she's older. You know, really criticising how she behaved when she was as young as she was, but also being like, look, I was 19 and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Because same bestie. Except I'm 24, almost 25. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, it was really, really good. The characters were all fantastic, and I didn't see where that book was going. When it got to that one bit at the end, I was like, yeah, brilliant, 5 out of 5 stars. And then read Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson. I have previously read her series, Truly Devious series. This is a standalone novel, but if you like Truly Devious, you will like Death at Morning House, because it very much almost follows that same kind of idea of mystery in the past is connected to the mystery in the future, sort of eccentric family on their island, or and things like that. And something happens, and then they all move away, and it's been unsolved for how many years. Like, very similar setup to Truly Devious, except condensed into one book. It was really fun. I didn't really like the way it got resolved. I do think that the person in the present who was like, you know, murdering people, I don't know, I feel like it kind of came out of nowhere and wasn't as well developed as it maybe could have been. But if anything, the story almost doesn't feel about that. The story does feel about our main character and her developing as a person, and I feel because that's done so incredibly well, the mystery of who the modern day murderer and stuff is, I kind of almost didn't care by the end of it. I was sort of like, oh, okay, but like, I was like, let's see what our main character is up to, because she's so cool, and I really like her, and I really like the development that she goes through on in this book. I did think as well that the mystery in the past and stuff, the way it was resolved was a little bit like, and here's the answer. But what happened and why it happened and stuff was very interesting, and I really, really liked it. So yeah, I really enjoyed Death at Morning House. It is, yeah, if you liked the Truly Devious series, you will like this book. It is just as good, I think, as what was going on in Truly Devious, condensed down. So yeah, but I really like this one. And last but by no means least, I read The Shadow Key. Just so you know, I work 1 day a week at the moment, so the only reason I'm able to get through this many fucking books in 1 month is because that is literally all I do with my life right now. I go to work 1 day a week, and then the remaining 6, I am sat at home reading. So I read The Shadow Key by Susan Stokes Chapman. I have read her book Pandora previously, really fucking loved it. Shadow Key, not nearly as good as Pandora, but still really, really good. Historical fiction slash fantasy, I would say, maybe historical fiction with a suggestion that there's maybe the fantastical going on, but never any like true fantasy elements, I would say. You're following this young doctor who recently, due to a scandal, is out of work, completely unable to get a job. So when he gets offered a position as a sort of village community doctor in the back of beyond nowhere in Wales, he takes it because he's got no other option really. And when he gets there, the village is very hostile towards him as an Englishman, as an outsider, as someone who doesn't speak Welsh. And everything kind of goes from there really, of him trying to find his place in this community, whilst also dealing with the very eccentric lady that he now works for, and her uncle, who's like quite an overbearing man and stuff like that, and the dynamic between the two of them. He's also sort of assigned as the primary physician for her mother, who is basically insane, but her uncle doesn't want to send her to a madhouse and stuff. So he's also got this kind of thing of like trying to find out what's actually wrong with this lady and their family, and basically finding more and more mysteries and more questions than he has answers to as time goes on. Very haunting, very atmospheric book. The characters are all really, really great. I thought there was some really interesting developments and very interesting, just a really interesting cast of characters, I think, and the way that they all interacted with each other was quite cool. The setting was really fun as well, and I think the historical stuff that the author pulls from really helped ground the story in that time and place. Particularly since I believe the author is Welsh and stuff, so she is able to take the attitudes of native Welsh people towards English people who were coming in and forcing them to speak English and really disrupting their way of life and stuff. You know, obviously as a Scottish person I can kind of understand as well, because there's a lot of similar things happened in our country a few hundred years ago and stuff. So like that was really interesting for me as well, just to kind of read a historical book set in that kind of time. I did think that the climax of the book was a little bit kind of, okay, this is where we're going, but the build up to it was good enough that didn't really detract from it. The romance in this I really didn't like. I didn't see the point of it. You could have taken that character out and had the same story. I do get why she was there, because her motivations and what she ends up doing in the book, very, very interesting and very much lead back into the overall theming of just that time in history with the English and the Welsh and things like that. Like I completely get why she's there, but she could have just been a side character rather than just trying to be romance, because the romance made no sense and was literally just there for like this one thing to happen, and you're like, So that's probably why I knocked off a few points and stuff off of it. The plot twist, holy shit! Like when you find out who the Doctor is and why he's been brought there, and you're like, oh. That was really, really good. That was really well done. Did not see that one fucking coming. Yeah, I really, really like this one. Not nearly as good as Pandora. I would say I think Pandora's like a 5-star read for me, and this was like a 4-star, but still a very, very good book. Holy shit, this is going to be a really long video to come back onto, but I read a fuck ton in January. Yeah, really, really good month, I think. Only a few books that were maybe like not 5 stars, but I read a lot of really, really good books that I was really, really happy with. I really enjoyed a lot of the books that I read in January. The rest of the year's months are going to have to really try and match this standard set. Do tell me what you would be reading in January. Have you read any of the books that I have mentioned today? What did you think of them? If you do want to comment and comment spoilers, do just put a little spoiler tag so people know to look away so they don't get spoiled. But yeah, I'm hopefully going to be back regularly on YouTube. If worse comes to the worst, it will just be monthly wrap-ups. I am just going to take this with as much time and motivation as I can feel to do. That was one of the reasons why I left BookTube in the first place, was that I really didn't have the energy or the time. So yeah, but hopefully I will be able to do a few more reviews, videos, little wrap-ups and things like that, just so that I can be back in the community and just go on about all the cool books I've been reading recently. Anyway, thanks. See you later. Bye.